Remember, don't steal or do anything dishonest. Your government hates competition.
Anonymous News. As the world turns, what's new has our full attention. Join us to post what lamestream media will not, the truth. If you do not want this read to you, click links or read below, thanks. No evidence. The United States chasing Assange, Roxon. Blatant lies. Anonymous message, to Australian government. Who do you serve, USA or Australia? It seems you're confirming that USA is in full control of our Australian government. We need government that works for the Australian people. Lately federal laws have been changed so that any Australian can be extradited to USA without any reason given, and USA has now been given full access to ASIO top secret files on all Australians and businesses. Why? And what did we get in return? Could we have access to all USA's top secret files? I think not. Julia Gillard seems to be working for USA now and not the people of Australia. Letting USA have anyone they like and access to ASIO files and a military presence here that makes us targets for the warmongering war criminal harboring USA. This is something that most Australians will find shocking and ludicrous. The USA has passed laws saying that all its citizens are terrorists and can be held indefinitely in detention without trial, and if they do get a trial, it is a secret trial, and Gillard wants us to be a part of this. I think Julian Assange's question on Q&A about should the Australian people consider her treasonous may have some merit. As now we as in the USA have all our communications monitored and having a big new building built especially for this. Why would we have not had any terrorist attacks here, and why are all the ridiculous laws of the USA being implemented here at a very fast rate? Seems Gillard might have something big to hide from us that she is afraid Julian Assange might release on her very secret meetings with USA. Such as the new federal law that was implemented when Rudd was urged by USA to have a run at Gillard for prime ministership to cover a backroom deal signed into law and not mentioned in the media. To export anyone USA liked to the USA without a reason. This was put in place to block Julian from coming back to Australia is the only reason it could be put in place at the best time. We need to hold our public servants accountable for these crimes they are committing upon the Australian people and not letting them know about it. How many times is Gillard interviewed and says I am not going to comment on this and that and not going into hypotheticals upon hypotheticals is her favourite way of not answering any questions we as Australians should know from an open and transparent government that's supposed to work for us. Not the damn USA. A public servant is supposed to work for us the people. If they don't, we should dump them and get people in that do work for the Australian people, for Australia not USA. End of very pissed off message. A few hours before the British Supreme Court gives its decision on whether Julian Assange is to be extradited to Sweden, the Australian government claims to have no knowledge whatsoever of any intention by the United States to prosecute and extradite the WikiLeaks publisher on espionage or conspiracy charges. In a letter sent yesterday to one of Mr Assange's legal representatives, Australian human rights lawyer Jennifer Robinson, Attorney General Nicola Roxon claimed that the government has no information from the United States to indicate that it has laid, or is about to lay, any charges against Mr Assange. Asked in the Senate Estimates Committee hearing today whether the government had any knowledge of a secret United States indictment against Mr Assange, Foreign Minister Bob Carr asserted, "We have seen no evidence such a sealed indictment exists." When pressed by Greens Senator Scott Ludlum on whether the government had directly asked the United States authorities whether charges had been drawn up against Mr Assange, Foreign Affairs and Trade Secretary Dennis Richardson acknowledged that Australian diplomats had held frequent discussions with the United States officials, but he repeatedly avoided answering whether the question had actually been asked. Mr Richardson declined to disclose any details of the government's exchanges with the United States on the grounds that such discussions were confidential. The publication earlier this year of a leaked confidential email from the head of the United States private intelligence firm Stratfor that stated that the United States had a sealed indictment on Assange, was dismissed by Mr Richardson as speculation, and he similarly insisted he was not aware of any evidence of any sealed indictment. Mr Assange, who has not been charged with any offence in Sweden, fears extradition to Stockholm will facilitate his extradition to the United States to retaliation for WikiLeaks' publication of secret United States military and diplomatic reports allegedly leaked by the United States Army Private Bradley Manning. Mr Assange, who last year accepted a Walkley Award for WikiLeaks' outstanding contribution to journalism, has also expressed concern that a successful appeal against extradition to Sweden will prompt the United States to immediately seek his extradition directly from Britain. This scenario was acknowledged by Mr Richardson today, though the Foreign Affairs and Trade Secretary, though it not possible for Mr Assange to be whizzed out of the UK tonight. Both Senator Carr in his estimates testimony today and Ms Roxon in her letter to Ms Robinson insisted that Mr Assange will continue to receive a high level of consular support. This would include, in the event an application for his extradition to the United States, consular representations that he be afforded due process if any action were to be taken. However, Ms Roxon made it clear that the Australian government will not seek to involve itself in any exchanges between Washington, London and Stockholm about Mr Assange's future. Australia would not expect to be a party to any extradition discussions that may take place between the United States and the United Kingdom or the United States and Sweden, as extradition is a matter of bilateral law enforcement cooperation. Ms Roxon wrote. Last December, Fairfax Media obtained the release under Freedom of Information of Australian Embassy cables that in December 2010 reported to Canberra that WikiLeaks was the target of an unprecedented, the United States criminal probe, and that media reports that a secret grand jury had been convened in Alexandria, Virginia, were likely true. The released cables show that the Australian Embassy in Washington confirmed from the United States officials that the United States Justice Department was conducting an active and vigorous inquiry into whether Julian Assange can be charged under the United States law, most likely the 1917 Espionage Act. Although the United States officials were not prepared to share the particulars of the criminal investigation, they said the WikiLeaks probe was unprecedented both in its scale and nature. Australian diplomats also called on then the United States Assistant Attorney General for National Security David Cruz to request advance warning of any public announcement of the results of the United States investigations or proposed actions. Mr. Cruz replied that he would take that reasonable request for advance warning up the line, though he warned that advance notice sometimes caused problems later, when it became public that the government had been provided with advance warning. The Australian diplomats said they would still appreciate advance notice, so that ministers could respond appropriately. Another Washington embassy report in December 2011, released to Fairfax Media earlier this month, noted that, by virtue of the secret nature of grand jury investigations, details of the investigation cannot be confirmed on the record legally. However, it was reported earlier last year that a broad range of possible charges are under consideration, including espionage and conspiracy. Further reporting has been redacted on grounds that its release would damage Australia's diplomatic relations. Despite the government's claimed lack of knowledge of any of the United States charges against Mr Assange, and Mr Carr's statement in today's estimates hearing that the Swedish investigation is the only action he faces, the Attorney General also took the opportunity to advise Ms Robinson that, should Mr Assange be convicted of an offence in the United States and a sentence of imprisonment imposed, he may apply for an international prisoner transfer to Australia. His application would be considered on its merits and in accordance with relevant legislation. Your government working hard to protect you itself from you. Please help share this article with others. See links to this below. Thanks.
The heroic fight with us. The honest support us. The corrupt fear us. For we are anonymous. We are legion. We do not forget. We do not forgive. Expect us to expose you.